The morning haze still clung to the valleys of southern China when the immense Jinghai hydroelectric dam, a concrete gravity structure spanning nearly half a kilometer across the roaring Liuguang River, began to show signs of stress unnoticed by the town's downstream. Stream. Engineers on the night shift had been monitoring the strain gauges since before dawn, uneasy at the subtle vibration in the control room floor and the faint groan reverberating through the walls. But no one could have foreseen the sequence of catastrophic events that would follow. An unusually heavy monsoon season, coupled with sudden snowmelt from the mountains, had pushed the reservoir to record heights, its greenish water churning with debris, while the dam's emergency spillways, clogged by landslide rubble from 2 days prior, struggled to release the excess. At 8:14 a.m., a muffled boom echoed from deep within the left abutment, and an urgent radio call went out to the main office. But even as crews rushed to inspect the source, a spiderweb of cracks burst across the downstream face, spitting jets of high-pressure water like silver spears into the humid morning air. Seconds later, the unthinkable happened as a massive midsection of the dam wall sheared away, releasing a wall of water 50 meters high, thundering down the valley with the force of 1,000 freight trains. Snapping steel pylons like matchsticks, uprooting ancient camphor trees, and swallowing entire fields of ripening rice in seconds. The nearby city of Huaiyan, home to over 200,000 people, had mere minutes to react as sirens wailed. But in the low-lying districts, the torrent arrived too fast, carrying fishing boats into third-floor balconies and tossing buses into apartment courtyards, while factories along the river's industrial corridor were ripped from their foundations, scattering shipping containers, oil drums, and machine parts into the chaotic flood. Helicopters from the Provincial Rescue Bureau fought the violent updrafts from the rushing water to hoist survivors from rooftops as emergency engineers scrambled to assess the stability of the dam's remaining structure, fearing a... In the hours that followed, the floodwaters carved a new chaotic channel through the valley, leaving behind a wasteland of shattered concrete, twisted rebar, and a haunting silence, broken only by the distant cries for help and the mechanical whir of rescue drones scanning for heat signatures. Days later, the official investigation would reveal a grim chain of causes. Design flaws from decades ago, poor maintenance, ignored warnings about upstream landslide hazards, and the fatal decision not to preemptively lower reservoir levels despite meteorological alerts. But in that moment, amid the devastation, the only truth was that nature's unleashed power had reduced one of humanity's proudest feats of engineering into a gaping wound in the earth, a reminder etched in water and ruin that even the strongest walls can fall. The humid summer morning over Yunnan province began like any other, with a thin veil of mist hovering above the emerald-green Liuguang River and farmers already working knee-deep in their paddy fields, unaware that upstream, the Jinghai hydroelectric dam, a colossal 480-meter long, 160-meter high concrete gravity structure built in the late 1970s, was quietly edging toward catastrophic failure. For weeks, an unusually intense monsoon had dumped record rainfall across the catchment, while unexpected snowmelt from the far-off Daksu Mountains poured into tributaries, pushing the reservoir to an unprecedented level of 109% capacity. In the control room, engineers monitored the readings with increasing anxiety, noting that 2 of the 8 spillway gates remained jammed with debris from a recent landslide, drastically reducing the dam's ability to discharge water safely. And overnight, strain sensors embedded in the structure had begun registering fluctuations far outside the expected range, accompanied by subtle tremors felt underfoot. Still, official orders from the Provincial Water Bureau instructed operators to hold the water level until downstream floodplain readiness was confirmed, a bureaucratic delay that would soon prove fatal at precisely 7 a.m. 7 a.m. A sharp cracking noise reverberated from the left abutment, followed by a small plume of pulverized concrete dust drifting from a hairline fracture. And within 90 seconds, the fracture multiplied into a lattice of jagged fissures, snaking across the dam's downstream face, expelling needle-thin jets of high-pressure water that sliced through the air like white fire. Alarms wailed as workers scrambled to manually engage the remaining gates, but the swollen force behind the wall had reached a tipping point at 8:12 a.m. With a deafening rolling detonation, a 120-meter-wide section of the dam's central spillway collapsed, unleashing a vertical curtain of water weighing millions of tons, which slammed into the valley below with the blunt force of an earthquake, flattening entire swaths of forest and generating a shock wave of wind that rattled windows 10 kilometers away. The first village in the flood path, Kingshui, was obliterated within 90 seconds, its cluster of wooden homes and tiled rooftops ripped apart and carried downstream in a churning brown vortex mixed with uprooted trees, livestock, and the shattered remnants of concrete bridges. In Huayan City, 26 kilometers downstream, police cars with loudspeakers raced through streets, shouting evacuation orders. But the torrent arrived like a freight train made of liquid steel, slamming into factories, markets, and apartment blocks with unsappable momentum, flipping buses end over end and forcing panicked residents onto rooftops. Force of the flood was so immense that steel transmission towers bent like reeds, and a floating oil depot along the riverbank ruptured, sending black slicks igniting into patches of burning water. Helicopters from the People's Armed Police Force Rescue Unit hovered dangerously low to winch survivors, dodging airborne debris, while rescue boats fought violent whirlpools to reach stranded families. By mid-afternoon, the once orderly river valley had been transformed into an inland sea stretching more than 50 kilometers, with only the tallest buildings, hilltops, and skeletal frames of collapsed bridges visible above the brown, debris-filled surface. At the shattered dam site, emergency crews worked frantically to stabilize what remained, fearing a secondary breach of the weakened right section that still held back part of the reservoir, while drones scanned the floodplain for signs of survivors. Their infrared sensors picking out faint heat signatures amid the ruin. The disaster's aftermath revealed staggering human and material losses. thousands dead or missing, hundreds of thousands displaced, entire agricultural economies wiped out, and infrastructure damage costing billions, and the official inquiry, convened weeks later, concluded that the collapse had been the result of a lethal combination of outdated design, ignored maintenance warnings, over-reliance on incomplete weather models, and political reluctance to release water early due to concerns about downstream economic disruption. But for those who lived through it, the technical explanations meant little, because the memory etched in their minds was not numbers or charts, but the sound of the dam breaking, the sound of the earth shaking, and the sound of a wall of water swallowing their world in a matter of minutes.